Shabbat Shalom. We, in our Torah portion this week, we are in a rather critical place. You have the showdown, the big moment in the story of Joseph and his brothers. How many of you have seen Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat? Cantor can tell you all about it.
I love that musical.
Yeah.
And see, I like the Torah version, although Donny Osmond does a pretty good job. Remember that we have Joseph, and he was a kid, and he was a younger brother. And as Gage can tell you, and Griffin can tell you, when you're the younger brother, I do mean, River, your younger brother, in Jewish life, the younger brother is the one who brings it. River, who's an older brother, is the one who says the truth. If you look at our tradition, Abraham, younger brother. Isaac, younger brother. Jacob, younger brother. Joseph, younger brother. Moses, younger brother. David, younger brother. That's just what happens in our tradition. And as a little kid, Joseph knew it, and Jacob favored him, right? Jacob makes him, and rather amazing, Technicolor Dreamcoat, Joseph has dreams about his father and mother and siblings bowing down and makes sure to tell his brothers. What do the brothers do? Yes, Cantor.
They plot to kill him, but instead they sell him into slavery.
They plot to kill him, and at the last moment, they decide to send him to slavery. Joseph goes into slavery. He finds himself and he gets into a household. He does very well in the household, moving up until he is the one running the household. And then you have an accusation of sexual harassment, and Joseph goes to jail. Joseph goes to jail. In jail, he interprets the dream for the cupbearer and the baker, and eventually he comes to Pharaoh's attention because he has interpreted dreams for both the baker and the cupbearer. Only the cupbearer brings the news to Pharaoh because, of course, the interpretation that Joseph offered for the baker was that the baker would get killed, which turned out to be true. Cupbearer tells Pharaoh. Pharaoh brings in Joseph. Joseph interprets the dreams. 7 fat cows, 7 skinny cows. 7 skinny cows eat the 7 fat cows. 7 fat ears of grain, 7 skinny ears of grain. The 7 ears of skinny ones eat the fat. Oi, 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 Joseph, what does it mean? It means we're going to have 7 years of plenty and 7 years of famine. And so we have to store in the years of plenty so we have enough for the years of famine. And then the famine arrives. Joseph, of course, is second in command of the land of Egypt, and there is a famine in the land of Israel as well. And so Jacob sends his remaining sons still in mourning of the death of Joseph, and the brothers come down, and they don't recognize Joseph, but Joseph certainly recognizes them. And there's this whole incredible drama that goes on through the entire story, where Joseph keeps testing the brothers again and again. Now, I've shared with you this whole long story. This is one of the longest narratives of one story that happens in the Torah, where you get all of this continuous story about one of our ancestors, this whole story of Joseph. But eventually, in our Torah portion, they've brought Benjamin, Joseph's youngest brother, and they can't go back without Joseph because it will kill Jacob. And Judah finally steps forward and says, look, I'll stay. I can't do that to my dad. He's lost one child. I've seen that child devastated, and I'm not going to do that to my father. I love my father, and I love my brother. I'll step in and take the blame. And in that moment, as Joseph has tested them again and again, over and over, in that moment, that's when Joseph says, okay, don't you recognize me? I am Joseph, your brother. And they all start crying. Now, Joseph is crying because he's finally revealed himself. Why are the brothers crying? Yes. Yes, but they also realized their brother is the one who's second in command. And the last time that they realized it was their brother, they tried to kill him. And so they're not sure that Joseph is going to treat them nicely. He could have all kinds of revenge plotted for them. And what does Joseph say? I am Joseph, your brother, who sold you to Egypt. Now don't be troubled. Don't be chagrined because you sold me here. For it was to save lives that God sent you ahead of me. He looked at his brothers and says, don't worry that you tried to kill me and sold me into slavery. Don't worry about the misery that you caused. It was all for a good purpose. Look at how far we've come. And if it was all blessing, blessing, blessing. Don't worry about the challenge and the service. Look how good we're turning out because it all works out in the end. Go God. It's really quite powerful. It's really beautiful. It is such an amazing statement of faith. But there's a bit of a problem with it. Not the faith, but sometimes how we apply it. In a commentary by Rabbi Dan Moskowitz, I came across this point. The Jewish response to suffering. The biblical version of everything happens for a reason, but it's more complex. The Jewish response is that something good can come from or be made from every challenge or disappointment or heartache life throws at us. It's making lemonade out of lemons. Okay? It's a beautiful statement, right? If something bad happens, we're Jews. So we should be creative and courageous and powerful, and it's all going to work out at the end. And I send a big smile to my beautiful wife, Jill, who tried to make lemon marmalade and instead made beautiful lemonade syrup. It's been going on in our house. Even we do it. How many of you have read Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning? The beautiful writing about the Holocaust. He's a Holocaust survivor. And he talks about, after his survival, he goes and becomes a therapist and is working with concentration camp survivors. And he states most people in the concentration camp believe the real opportunities in life had passed, and so they had given up. And he said one could make a victory of these experiences, turning life into an inner triumph, or one could ignore the challenge and simply vegetate. And that was Viktor Frankl. Anytime you have service, it's going to be a blessing, right? You just have to look at it from the right direction. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. That's right. Sandy is not. Because you've lived it. Way too much. Hora, pa, pa, pa. And yet, as I look at Joseph, it is absolutely true that it is a statement of faith. It's a statement of his creativity and courage and mazel. There is definitely some mazel. It's his perseverance. It got him through. But then if you think about the story, when does he make this statement to the brothers? He doesn't make it when he's sitting in prison. He doesn't sit it when he's in the cart going to slavery. He tells the brothers, oh, don't worry, it's all God's plan, and it all's going to work out at the end, because he's now in a place of power and protection to be able, with hindsight, to look back and say that it's all going to work out. Because life doesn't always work that way. We don't always have 20/20 hindsight. Sometimes we have to focus on what we get caught in this cycle of focusing on what we've learned and how we're going to grow through it as we get to the other side. You see the problem? Sometimes when we're in the midst of the service, when we're in the midst of the challenge, we start thinking that we're supposed to feel like Joseph. In those moments where we're trying to figure it out, trying to figure out why this is happening to me, when we're actually in the midst of feeling pain, we get these messages, whether it's the story of Joseph, whether it's the comment for Viktor Frankel, whether it's those, doesn't kill you makes you stronger, or when you have all you have is lemons, you make lemonade. We get these messages to ourselves and sometimes end up just undermining because we expect ourselves to be in a different place than where we really are. It's only sometimes with hindsight that we can figure out what we learned or figure out where the silver lining and the blessing is. It is too easy when we have that in our minds. When we get to the end of the process and we're saying we're supposed to be like Joseph and say, see, it's all part of God's plan, we get so far ahead of ourselves. We get impatient with ourselves for not figuring it out, or feel impatient with ourselves for not being able to keep moving. We get hard on ourselves because we're feeling pain or we're facing challenge. That we try and push so hard that we have to get through to understand where the blessing and the growth is. So on this Shabbat, as we have that very powerful message from Joseph, that there are moments to learn from our tzuras, there are moments where we find blessing in the midst of our pain and challenge and loss, I also ask for you to take that step back, to be honest with yourself and be honest with others. As we see people that are in the midst of that tzuras, when we ourselves are in the midst of that challenge, it is okay to trudge one foot in front of the other. It's okay to doggy paddle. It's okay just to survive. It's okay to need help to get from one place to the other. It is so easy to already be at the end or expect that we're somehow going to overcome everything that's in front of us and to all have it worked out. Joseph only got to that place after years and years and years. Even when he starts meeting with the brothers, he's not sure if he wants to bring revenge or forgiveness. It's only here in this one place, in this one snapshot. So on this Shabbat, I ask you to be patient with yourselves, to be honest as you're interacting with others. We need a lot more chen and chesed and rachamim in this world, a lot more grace and compassion and kindness. We have to stop expecting everyone in every moment, in every challenge, to be Joseph only at that one moment. Let us find ways in different moments of letting hands touch hands and souls touch souls. Let us not expect the end of the journey with all of its wisdom and insight as we are still along our way. Let us find ways to take step by ourselves. Let us also find those ways as we see people on that journey to join them, to help them, to support them, so we can get to real places together of shalom. Amen. Shabbat shalom.